What's up everyone, welcome to Newin's Top 10 Animes of 2021, the annual awards show where I rank the best anime the year has given us, which anime disappointed us, which anime surprised us, and which anime performed exactly how we expected. These questions will be answered depending on how you view this list. Let's get some quick rules out of the way. Sequels are included in this list, so we're not restricting it to new IPs only. Also, anything that has leftovers from the fall 2021 season will not be included and counted for the year of 2021. So unfortunately, I won't be including Osama ranking due to still having leftovers, but that means shows that started fall 2020 season will be in consideration. Shows like Attack on Titan, Final Season Part 1, and Jujutsu Kaisen, if people still remember those shows, but will they make the list? Your answers will be revealed soon. Before we get started, please consider subscribing to the channel for more anime content. It helps the channel just a bit more. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy the newest top 10 animes of 2021. Beginning our best of the best is Beastar's second season. The sequel to our 2019 third place finisher is our 10th best anime of 2021. Having aired earlier in the year and being a Netflix show, some of you may have forgotten about this show. Building on the storytelling and the psychological elements from its previous season, Beastar's second season is an exceptional sequel. Just because it's number 10 here and not top 3 like back in 2019 doesn't mean it dropped in quality. It just means 2021 was a really good year for anime. What Season 2 did very well compared to Season 1 was developing and giving the main Legoshi more character and motivation and goals for him to perform in the story. Unlike in Season 1, where he was mostly a character who acted upon his actions due to reacting to things around him, and the biggest development of the show was given to Lewis, who in the first season was trying to maintain the perfect student image, but in second season completely throwing it away to act as a tough mafia boss in the adult world, giving us some great psychological and mental development that the series had explored. And because the majority of the story, Legoshi and Lewis are separated, it kept us engaged on whether the two characters of the stories will eventually clash, bringing us to a satisfying conclusion. Kyoto Animation returned to the small screen after the devastating arson attack back in 2019 showed us they have not lost their touch, especially in the animation department, because Ms. Kobayashi's Dragon Maid Season 2 was probably one of the best animated shows of the year, and rightfully taking the number 9 spot and being the best anime for the very weak summer season. This is not just a simple slice of life where nothing happens, because a lot of the underlying undertones is what makes the story very interesting and well told. In Season 2, we got to see a lot of the characters' backstory before they started blending in with the modern world, and how they cope and adapt to changes around them, which makes for some wholesome and deep storytelling. With growing up as one of the main recurring themes, it leads to multiple characters having development throughout the course of the series. Seeing how each character grows up differently is a breath of fresh air. Just because this is a slice of life anime doesn't stop Kyoto Anime from flexing the art when they want to. Because when there is heavy action scenes, the studio pulls no punches and goes all out. For those little moments are probably some of the best anime things I've ever seen. And that's what Ms. Kobayashi Dragon's Maid excels at, the little things. We return to the world of Megalobox for our number 8 slot. Nomad Megalobox 2 is a sequel to 2018 Megalobox. However, just writing this off as just a sequel is just underselling this work of art. Don't look at this show as a sequel, but more of an epilogue. Season 1 was complete, it didn't need extra. However, this sequel adds so more depth and layers to an already developed cast from Season 1, especially for Joe and Sachio. No longer the people's champion, Joe throws away his life of fame to return to the world of underground boxing. And this is no longer an underdog story, but this is a story of redemption. Joe learning how to cope with loss and depression hits really hard on an emotional level. His journey in Nomad is a beautiful tale, and the characters he meets are very interesting, well thought out characters. Every character plays a purpose in the story, and they follow the same theme as redemption. In a way, Megalobox 2 is really a redemption anime, as Season 1's second half wasn't as strong, but Megalobox 2's story all the way was very captivating. Other than the story and the characters being well developed, the gritty art style still holds well, and really enhances the atmosphere these characters live in. And the icing on the cake is the wonderful, beautiful Latino soundtrack. Odd Taxi is really lucky to be at number 7. Just kidding. Odd Taxi is actually just a really good show filled with great writing and direction. What makes Odd Taxi a really interesting anime to watch isn't because of the art style or character designs, although it does play a major role in the plot. The thing about this anime is that it doesn't exactly feel like an anime. From the beginning we are given a mystery, and that mystery does not get solved until the very last moments of the show. And to make the mystery even more confusing, Odd Taxi introduces us to multiple characters and their stories. So it plays out like a Guy Ritchie crime film where multiple stories eventually collapse into one. and seeing the pieces of the puzzle connect is a wonderful treat. Otax is great at showing the little things and hints throughout its runtime. Little details are put into the anime and eventually play a part in the overall narrative. No story is left untold, everything is wrapped up in a nice neat package. Of course, the cast of characters are very interesting and diverse. Each character feels genuinely human despite the fact that they look like animals. Every character is flawed and trying to find their own place in society, and that gives motivation for how all the characters' decisions are played out. Odd Taxi just looks odd, but it's not one to simply ignore. The 6th best anime of 2021 is Vivi, Fluorescent Eyes Song. Vivi is made to be a Hollywood-level, popcorn, fun, action anime. The premise of Vivi is really interesting, making a 100-year-old story about one AI learning about her role in humanity and society, and giving her the goal of stopping an AI coup d'etat 100 years into the future. We follow Vivi's story from the beginning to the end, and the story, despite having to cover 100 years, doesn't feel rushed in the 13 episodes we were given. But of course, being an anime from Studio Wit, the production quality is insane. The animation art style remains consistent throughout the show. The action set pieces look stunning and flows with such fluidity, it almost looks like a movie quality level. The zoom in some character faces and the glow and reflections in their eyes tell us so many things and how they are feeling at that current moment. And of course, Vivi being an idol herself, you would think that the music is amazing, right? That is correct, because not only is the insert songs very good and hit on an emotional level, but the OST, the background music, is just as epic as the set pieces are. Vivi is an anime that does a lot of good things. The voice acting is also really good. Wonderful performance by Atsumi Tanazaki and Jun Fukuyama as the two main leads. Vivi missing the top 5 is just a tribute to how strong this year in anime it was, and I'm pretty sure the next one is going to surprise everyone. Racing into the top 5, and what a surprise, it's the literal dark horse anime of 2021. Musume Pretty Derby Season 2. Now this is not due to bias just because I played the phone game and was waiting for it for such a long time. But hear me out here, Season 1 was not that special, so going to Season 2, I had almost no expectations this anime was going to be an anime of the year level worthy contender. Boy, was I wrong. Because Musume Season 2 completely shattered my expectations and flung it all the way to the finishing line. No other anime this year have made me discuss more and more about Season 2. The story of Tokai Teo is not only the perfect base for going through adversary sport plot, but they did so much more, like add in other stories that only enhances the overall story even more. The character stories and the development is really well done. Not only Teo and McQueen's story are an emotional work of art, but nothing has made me tear up more this year than watching Rice Shower trying her hardest to win and accomplish it, but only to be seen as the villain at the end of the day. Musume Season 2 really made me care for these characters and their stories and history. Its races are intense and filled with emotion and energy, and it has a great soundtrack to go along with it. Musume Season 2 didn't deserve to be this good. It had no reason to try too hard, and people still would have played the game. So that's why I was really surprised it turned out to be an anime of the year contender. And I'm telling everyone out there, do not overlook this anime just because it's an idol anime about horse girls racing, because you would be missing out in one of the best told sports story in anime. Dropping into the number 4 slot is the highly anticipated, acclaimed manga series anime adaptation Komi Can't Communicate. For years, manga fans of this series wanted an anime adaptation, and honestly, I was skeptical at first for an anime of this particular series because it would be so hard to replicate the style of the manga in anime form. However, Studio OLM did a fantastic job. Not only does the anime look very pretty and cinematic at times, they were able to translate the comedy panels and single shot forms into animation form very well. Seeing that chalkboard scene in episode 1 sets up the level of quality this adaptation was going to be. The animation, the music, the character development was going to be beautiful. It may still be very early in Komi-san's story, which means there's still plenty of room to grow. The series is generally funny and wholesome. There's a lot of colorful characters and everyone leaves an impression, even for some with very little screen time. It's wacky and sometimes ridiculous, but that just adds to the whole comedy of the series. And just like the manga, I love the subtle thoughts and details that go on the side to show what the character is really thinking. Because a show about every character being unique and having some sort of social issues really needs those subtle inner thoughts to add more depth to their character. Of course, the title character has to stand out in her own show, right? And Mushoku is a wonderful character to follow. Not only is she a very cute individual with a cute personality and tendencies, seeing her develop little by little throughout the series as she's trying to make friends is just one wholesome experience. And being a manga reader of this particular series, I guarantee you anyone, although it may be slow, there is development and it's a beautiful thing to watch. You know it's a great year of anime where one of the best produced anime for television is at number 3. Mushoku Tensei Jobless Reincarnation is one of the best looking anime out there. They'll give anime movies a run for their money. Watching and seeing how this show is directed is like watching an anime film. The art style is gorgeous and everything is beautifully animated. It just flows very well and it's very smooth. Studio Bind did an outstanding job to make the world feel alive by adding little details you wouldn't think of, such as made up languages. You can tell this studio was created as a love letter for the series, as this is their first and only produced anime, and they gave it their all. Mushoku Tensei takes the usual isekai story of restarting the protagonist's life in another world. It's nothing new, but it's how they progress the story is a refreshing take on the isekai genre. We literally go on a journey with Rudeus Greyrat from birth to see him slowly become a man. Mushoku Tensei overall goal of the story isn't all that interesting. Heck, it's kind of a standard adventuring story. However, this is the story of growth and redemption. Every character deals with problems and they learn and grow from these. The development of chemistry between characters is very well done, and the way they express their different opinions on the world makes for great writing. Mushoku Tensei does such a great job of taking something very familiar and oversaturated and makes it interesting. I can see why this series is dubbed as the grandfather of isekai. You can see how many other isekais have tried to replicate what Mushoku Tensei did, and the majority of them didn't even come close to the level of storytelling and interest Mushoku Tensei did. This anime proves you don't have to have some sort of extravagant gimmick to stand out in the oversaturated isekai market. Just have good storytelling and you'll be one of the best anime of the year. Also, great animation and soundtrack helps a lot as well. The runner-up of the 2021 Anime of the Year, just missing out on that number 1 spot, is To Your Eternity. If there was one anime that hit me more in the feels and was more emotional than Musume Season 2, it was To Your Eternity. To Your Eternity has one of the most interesting concepts this year, taking a completely inanimate object and growing it into eventually something of being possessing human qualities, despite it being immortal. The journey and development of Fushi is extremely interesting and engaging, as he starts off as nothing pretty much, with no emotions, to becoming someone who can make his own decisions. Each arc he plays an important role in someone else's life, and he, being an immortal being, leads up to some sad endings, which is natural, as everyone around him can't live the same life he does. And that's what makes this series so emotional. Even though you know it's coming, it never fails to hit you right where you least expect it. Of course, the supporting cast around Fushi have to be very interesting and engaging to follow this kind of story. And they are. Each character plays a different part in Fushi's development, and they are vastly different from one another, so each arc feels very fresh. They are characters you grow to love along with Fushi, and the different backgrounds sets up for great storytelling. The animation is solid, and they do a really good job of when things get creepy, such as seeing Fushi being brought back to life because he's immortal. And the soundtrack is really good as well, enhancing the emotional power in the storytelling. With Utada Hikaru doing the OP, you can tell that this was going to be one emotional ride. And it's no surprise as this series is written by the same person who did A Silent Voice, Yoshitoki Oima. This is one of my favorite animes of the year. I never skipped a single week after watching that amazing first episode, and if it wasn't for my number 1, it could have well been an anime of the year for another year. But next up is the reason why this is number 2. And finally, after countless times of falling short, my runner-up for the 2016 and 2020 Anime of the Year finally takes the number 1 slot. ReZero Starting Life in Another World Season 2 Part 2 takes the Newin's 2021 Anime of the Year honors. The build-up in Part 1 was worth it, and the payoff was excellent. The final developments for the characters in Season 2 was very satisfying and well thought out. Especially for our two mains, Subaru and Emilia. Subaru's development in the new world keeps momentum and keeps getting better. And finally, after being a plot device for so long, Emilia finally got the well-deserved development she really needed since the beginning of ReZero. However, it's just not those characters that got to shine. Side characters that you thought won't play a big role also got their moments. Best Girl Ran proves to us why she's just as good as her sister. Roswell is one of the most interesting villains of the year, with a well thought out backstory. And of course, the most surprising development of Otto become one of the best bros of the year. The arc wrapped up nicely, set up by the foundation of Part 1, as not only did we feel like we're one step closer to the overall goal. Of course, there's always new questions moving forward, and it only feels like ReZero is actually really beginning. The chemistry between Subaru and Emilia grew exponentially. The way they interact and banter with one another just shows how well they've been written to eventually be close to each other. The romance feels like it's actually progressing, unlike most other isekais. Also, the set pieces were amazing, filled with development and metaphorical depth, such as Subaru vs Garfield, Ram vs Roswell, and Garfield vs Elsa, just to name a few. These fights did not disappoint. Their build-up and conclusions were really well done. Great animation, paired with great soundtrack, proves to you Studio White Fox is not messing around with this adaptation. ReZero remains my favorite isekai with my favorite cast of characters, and for good reasons. Even with a strong new contender like Mushoku Tensei, ReZero is still staying on top as the best isekai yet. Its gimmick, its world, and its characters is being developed amazingly, and I cannot wait for potentially more ReZero to come in the future. So congrats ReZero Starting Life in Another World for finally taking a Newin's Anime of the Year honors. You were truly the best show of a fantastic, stacked year of 2021 amazing anime. Well, that is it for the Newin's 2021 Best Anime. Now, I normally do the honorable mentions just before I hit number 1 to let you know why these animes are still worth watching, but personally, they're either very close or didn't make my top 10. So let's get the obvious popular shows out of the way first. Jujutsu Kaisen didn't make my list last year, but I'll still give it an honorable mention because its fight scenes look really, really good. And of course, the biggest elephant in the room, some of you may ask, where is Attack on Titan final season? I'm going to be honest, even though I think Attack on Titan is still a really good show with good writing and development, I personally don't enjoy it as much as the other 10 shows on this list. Eurocamp Season 2 continues to be one of the most comfiest animes of all time. And speaking of comfy, I have a bias towards I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level. It is also one of the comfiest wholesome shows of the year. Remake of Our Life hits really close to home as a media student because it's pretty much about media university classes. Blue Period is probably the number 11 anime on the list with fantastic character writing and premise. Horimiya is probably one of the best depictions of real romance in anime form. And Selection Project is probably one of the best idol anime I have ever seen. And that's only scratching the surface. There's so much good anime of 2021 that we could be here all day. It was extremely tough picking 10 anime because of the stuff I left out, but I don't think I had a tough of a year picking a contender as I have because these 10 shows were all contenders in my book. And that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching this far to the end. Please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps the channel a bit because I love producing these type of videos. Let me know in the comments below if you agree or disagree what I put on this list. Maybe let me know your best anime of 2021 was. That's Newin's best anime of 2021. I hope you enjoyed the video and bye bye. Otsu Ebi, bye bye.